just hear this out. It's really stupid. Pence, shall we say, hires Trump to be the VP, and then Pence resigns.
Wait, whoa, is that legal?
No, that's a there's no possible way.
Um, well,
It's hilarious.
putting that aside, if a president is impeached, does that bar him from serving as a vice president?
That's a good question.
And it
I would think not.
right, I don't think there's anything
And
written
then
that says
would
that.
he be eligible to serve as president again? I mean, that would be
Yeah,
the bottom line.
I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, let's look at Buddy Cianci, who was incarcerated, served a jail sentence, and was no. Well, I don't think actually no. I don't think he won re-election after that. But he had to resign as mayor of Providence because of controversy, things like that. And then he ran again later and won.
Well, the governor of Louisiana, and I can't remember the guy's name. This is easy to look up. He was sent to jail for some kind of corruption, fraud, or whatever. When he got out, he ran for governor again.
And the people loved him. Made it up.
Because
right?
the opponent was David Duke.
Oh.
People of Louisiana did not want David Duke to be the governor.
We got a problem, and the problem is the two-party system and the two parties.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that.
All right. But I mean, seriously, realistically, we got Trump, who never backs down, and we got Democrats who are emboldened, elected by the people, who they got their heels dug in. They're not backing down. We in for a 2-year shutdown? I mean,
I don't know. I can't imagine that it would lasting that long. I'm surprised that it's lasted this long. Because when you really look at it, there is no Democrat that, shall we say, wants open borders. Anybody that says they want open borders is a liar. They're misrepresenting what the Democrats have said.
Oh yes, everyone's
Democrats are definitely interested in border security, and in fact have voted for building some type of fence.
But $5 billion they're not going to vote for. Plain and simple. Not happening.
Well, the thing is that Trump just stands there and says all these things without showing any details. You know, he talks about a wall on that concrete, and then it's steel, and then it's whatever, but there's no details. How is this all going to work? Oh yeah, he said it's going to be U.S. made sourced steel. Oh, that's great, but prove it. You know, they're not believing it. They're not buying it.
Right, but how does the shutdown end? Because Trump says we're building a wall, Democrats say no, and no one's going to budge.
Right.
And
you drop the whole idea of a wall, you know, because people have ladders.
Are you really surprised that this has lasted this long, though? Because, I mean, do you see Trump backing down? Do you see the Democrats backing down? No. And without that, this keeps dragging on. If anything...
Well, doesn't the deal... Isn't Trump the big deal maker? You know, hey, dude, make a deal. Oh, that's right. You pissed everybody off. Let's see. How do you make that deal work?
You don't. He don't. He's not good at making deals.
Well, that's what he claims.
Well, yeah, but he's
so
also...
show that you're, hey, dude, show that you're a deal maker.
He is also a big, fat professional liar.
Sure. Okay, so... ooh. So let's see.
We are officially live on the YouTubes, and I'm trying to get connected to the streams, but the streams are giving me some trouble.
Okay, so Mr. the President tweeted... I have to look at it. The fake news will knowingly lie and demean in order to make the tremendous success of the Trump administration and me look as bad as possible. Then they use non-existent sources and write stories that are total fiction. Our country is doing so well, yet it's a sad day in America. And I said, hashtag Trump shutdown means that you're doing well?
No, he's not.
And I got 95 likes on that so far. Woo! Oop. So Venison tweets, it'll be a few minutes. Skype is acting crazy. Won't load. Has error messages and security codes, Java. It worked this afternoon.
Yeah, that's how things tend to work. All right, I need to set some levels. There we go. We want that to be about over
So
there.
should I tell him to reboot?
Nah, he'll figure it out. Anyways, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Democrats aren't going to back down, and Trump seems to be incapable of, doing anything rational or sane or intelligent, and he don't want to back down. I at this point, as unlikely as this is, the people with the least to lose here are the congressional Republicans, because they're already in a shit place. It seems to me the most likely people to break down are the congressional Republicans to pass something and override a veto. But that would be pretty extreme.
Well, the interesting thing is,
but no one's talking
the House
about
puts
that.
something together and it passes, and it's bipartisan. It goes to the Senate. And the Senate's a bunch of fucking weenies, and they go, well, Trump's not going to sign it, so we're not even going to vote on it.
Right. Well, McConnell is the world's greatest obstructionist, and he's going to continue playing that game. So yeah, basically he goes, if Trump won't sign it, I won't put it up. And it's like, dude, the GOP should just cut their losses, realize they got a turkey in the White House, and override his veto to get the job done. Only problem is that makes the Democrats look good. Republicans don't want to do anything that make the Democrats look good.
But the Republicans in Congress that go along with it, because that's how it got through the House. It was bipartisan. The Senate says, hey, let's do our bipartisan version. Put it together, send it to the White House, and see what happens. Hey,
Well, yeah, but
this is what the representatives have decided on. Come on, go along with it, man.
That means that the congressional Republicans are defying Trump by delivering legislation he said he won't sign to his desk, and Mitch is sticking by Trump. Which there's a guy whose career should have been over a long time ago.
Who's he working for? I thought a senator worked for the people of his state.
Oh, Mitch McConnell don't give a shit about anyone except himself and his party.
Apparently.
No. Well, I mean, Mitch McConnell spent all those years doing nothing but obstructing because, we don't have one of our guys in the White House, so we're not going to get anything done. Right. I mean, the whole Merrick Garland thing, that was, absolutely ridiculous that he was allowed to do that. Someone should have, I don't know, someone should have drug him out into the front street in front of the Senate and talk some sense into him about doing his fucking job properly.
And, well, I mean, most of his positions are voted by other members of the Senate. Somebody say, hey, get him out of that position so he can't be an obstructionist.
And obstruction's all he knows. It's his only trick. It's the only thing he's good
for. You got a guy like Rand Paul, the libertarian.
He says interesting things, but at the end of the day, he's just another...
And you kind of go, well, you wouldn't have him as the speaker or in a heavy position because he's just too different. So he's not going to get the top positions. That's the problem with libertarians. I like a lot of libertarian ideas, and I'm kind of glad the guy's in there, but I wouldn't have him in a leadership position
No.
because
Yeah,
he's not. Oh, and the same with Bernie Sanders. I don't want him in a top leadership position of a party because he's kind of the outsider.
well,
Hell, in his position, he's not even a Democrat, is he?
no, he's an independent, but I think he's exactly what the Democratic Party needs, because he's talking about
Sure.
getting some real change done that this country needs.
I no doubt about it. I mean, so I would say I wouldn't kick him out of the Senate. He has an important voice.
I think
should the Democrats go that far to the left? I would say no.
Well, the Democrats didn't go that far to the left, and look at what happened.
Sure. They have to work that out, though.
I think the best way to put it is Hillary Clinton is the Democrats' version of Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Sure.
Mitt went up against Obama and lost because he was too moderate and too reasonable.
Sure.
People don't like that, and that's how we end up with Trump. You want to beat Trump, you got to put up a Democrat.
But the
Trump.
flip side of it, though, is that Hillary Clinton can get things done, and I think people think that that'll happen.
They
may not like her.
She had too much baggage. She had too much baggage.
They need to find somebody else for sure.
There were too many weaknesses there.
Sure.
And she should have. The people backed Bernie, and the superdelegates tilted the scales, and that right off the bat left a
sure.
For the people to pick one candidate and the party to put their thumb on the scale and take the decision out of the hands of the people. That right there left
act
the
like a Republican, although Republicans don't have that type of organization.
No, exactly, they don't. That's the thing. Yeah. You got to give the Republicans credit for it. The people chose their candidate. The party did not choose Trump. The people chose Trump. The Democrats, put their thumb on the scale and put Hillary up there. That of course was a big part of the problem, was that the Democrats ran a very corrupt.
I think the other problem with the Republicans is, not only did the people go for Trump, it's just that the other guys didn't plan on or even know how to go against him.
Well, here's the thing I don't get, because
they couldn't point out what's wrong with him.
Here's the thing.
They didn't have their own plans to say, hey, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this.
Well, here's the thing. Trump ran a very good con, and I'm still not quite sure exactly how he did it. I understand he spoke to a part of this country that has been ignored by both sides of the party and is very angry and tends to lean conservative. And Trump embraced that, and that paid off for him. But I still don't understand how someone like Trump, someone who was born into wealth, handed everything to him. I mean, the way he puts it was his father gave him a small $1 million loan that
which was bullshit.
Which is bullshit. No, right. He was given far more than $1 million loan. Even if he was given $1 million loan, that's a lot more than you or me would ever get.
Did his father take his money with him when he croaked?
No, of course not.
Where did that money go?
I'm looking at it.
It doesn't take a genius to figure out.
But Trump tries to give the story that he was giving a very moderate loan of a paltry $1 million, and he built his empire on that. And sure, he would inherit it more later, but it's bullshit. Right. He was given far more than that, and there was a lot of shady deals that involved avoiding paying taxes. That
Why do you think that Trump is the head of something like 500 corporations?
Yeah,
I think though a lot of them exist only to launder money.
He is a con artist and is running a lot of shady deals. But put that aside, shady or not. $1 million loan or not just $1 million loan. Trump recently made a statement to the effect of that he understands where the government employees that are being furloughed and are unable to make ends meet because they're not getting paychecks, that he understands where they're coming from. Bullshit.
Exactly.
Bullshit. There is no way in fucking hell Trump has any comprehension at all what it would be like to lose your paycheck and not be able to know where your next meal is coming from, or how you're going to make the rent payment.
He has never lived paycheck to paycheck.
He has never nowhere close. And I'm not saying that's his fault, but for him to try to suggest like he could understand is just such blatant bullshit. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up, man up about the fact that you don't got the votes, and open the fucking government so people can get their damn paychecks, or give them paychecks. You know, shut your pie hole. But that right there is the biggest con that Trump has pulled off.
Were you in California when we had a budget?
Let me finish this. That right there is the essence of the biggest con that Trump has pulled off. He is somehow convinced middle America that he's one of them and understands where they're coming from. And I mean, that in itself is quite an accomplishment for.
Oh, sure. No, I agree.
How are you buying this crap? He's not one of you. He don't understand jack shit about anything in your day-to-day life, and he don't give a damn. He don't give a damn. He is running a big con, and you're buying it up.
And where did he even think of it? It's like,
well,
bizarre. Okay, so let me throw something in there. Were you in California when they had a budget shutdown? They were closing state parks and employees weren't getting their paychecks and that kind of stuff.
I may have been. I forget now. I seem to recall something.
What California did was, okay, we can't give you a paycheck, but we'll give you a voucher.
A voucher.
And maybe your landlord will accept the voucher because they know that'll turn into money from the state.
It's an IOU from the state of California.
Basically, yeah.
We're the state. We're totally good for it.
But it was backed up by the state, and a landlord would accept it. Some didn't, but you know, it's like, hey, you know, this is the best I can do. I don't have money.
You know, because it's not like a landlord is suddenly is in a magical position where this paper's as good as money, I'll be fine. Landlords got mortgage payments to make on their properties,
et cetera, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is, well, you know what? Here, we'll give you an IOU, and we'll let like the next level, you know, do without pay.
But at least it's something, right?
It was something, but it was really, you know, it wasn't. It
isn't the same as a paycheck.
No, it's kind of insulting, actually. You know, like, yeah, we totally hear you. Here's a piece of paper that says we're totally good for this, and you just go to your landlord and say, could you please just hold on to this paper, and because you're asking someone else to go. We'll
make good on it.
You're asking someone else to go without pay for a period of time.
Sure.
You're telling these workers to ask their landlords out of the kindness of their hearts to politely take one for the team and go without their pay, which kudos to the landlords that took the voucher, by the way. Round of applause, the golf clap for the landlords that took the vouchers.
Right.
But anyways, we should open the show. We're only 15 minutes into the show, but once again, we're tuned into...
Insert title here.
The show that changes names so often, we had to put a placeholder in. We might be time out with Gators and Brian again this week. I have a feeling a timeout is coming here if anyone's listening. Yeah, no, it's we got to talk about, you know, these things, because if you don't talk about them, then you're ignoring things. And yeah, it's.
Let's go back to ignoring things.
Well, we could do that. But I just want to say that, you know, this is tough because Democrats ain't backing down. Trump ain't backing down. And I mean, like, for example, people are starting to ask questions about their tax returns and things like that. And where do you got to go to for those answers? The IRS. Who's not open? The IRS. This is a big problem, and this is only a small part of a big problem. We're in trouble. We're in trouble if Trump don't, fucking quit this baby act, but or if the GOP don't like grow some balls and override him, which they could totally do. And this ain't a good time to be a Republican, because ship's going down. In case you haven't noticed, either you noticed that you're on a ship that's going down, or you're delusional and in denial. So, might be a good time to start overriding your dumbass Cheeto in Chief's stupidity. At least to get the doors open.
Right.
But I don't think any of the GOP senators are tuned in tonight, so I suppose my message is landing on deaf ears there. But you know what? For the first time in a long time, I'm proud to be here and proud to be doing this show. Yeah. I mean, I've been thinking about this show since I started it. When I say this show, I mean this particular specific
episode.
Not episode. This specific run of the show. The
insert title here.
Show. I mean, I ended Suburban Homeboys, an amateur hour, and I thought I was gonna start doing like a weekend late night show, and all the same people were gonna show up, and that was gonna be like the new Suburban Homeboys amateur hour, but we're gonna add some like video games to it or whatever, and that just fell apart, and the only person that was still interested in doing shows with me was, well, Venison's always game for whatever's going on, and Brian Blue's here. And I fell into the Damon trap, because Damon always talked about the glory days of No Holds Barred Radio back when everyone participated and they had more listeners and all that stuff. And I always, bitched him out like, dude, you got some good things going here now. Sometimes past, some things changed. You got co-hosts, you got a show, you got other shows around you, you got a network. Enjoy what you got, dude. And he couldn't do it. And I got to say, with this show, I've kind of been in that trap many times. When I come here...
So is Damon and Liam not doing a show anymore?
Oh, no, they haven't been doing a show like, for a while now. They stopped doing the show.
Yeah. It just seems odd. I mean, I'd listened to a few... I'm not a big show listener.
Well, Damon and Liam are really talented
when I've
hosts.
listened to them, I says, those guys are good. They keep the energy going.
Yeah, and it was funny because Liam talked about wanting to try to make it something of the show and make it into something that can generate income and make it professional. And then shortly after that, he wrapped it up and packed it in. And I don't know everything that went into that decision, but I know Damon also changed jobs shortly after that. And, so there were basically life happens, and but it's a shame because they both very talented people on their own, and they make a good team together. Hopefully, times will change. But I fell in my own funk because for a long time, when I'm doing the show, I have fun because, well, dude, I like hanging out with friends. It's my weekly time to hang out with Brian because, I don't work with you anymore.
Right.
So, I can't swing by your desk and piss you off and get you to start, flinging water from your water bottle out at me.
Right.
I got a good buffer zone.
And the good thing, if I did it here, I'd just be hitting my keyboard.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be good.
That would not be good at all. No, water in the keyboard, bad. But that's kind of what's been my motivation is like, well, hey, I still get to hang out with my friend Brian, who's over on the other coast. But I've always kind of felt like this show lives in the shadow of the past shows, I with Mars and when we had Mars and Neo and Venison here, we all had a good interaction, except that Neo and Venison kind of hate each other, and Neo kind of started paying more attention to what's that Doctor Who. But that was, and I'm like, oh, the show's not as good as it used to be. But I was going through the internet this weekend, and I decided, I'm going to Google myself. And I know that sounds dirty, but it's not. But I decided not only would I Google myself, I would Google Johnny Gators, see what Johnny Gators is up to on the internets there. What happens if I Google Johnny Gators? What kind of crazy, silly shit shows up? And of course, picture of me about to pass out shows up quite frequently. But I noticed that a IMDb entry for Johnny Gators showed up. And I know that's not exactly a big deal. But that was like, well, what's that all about? So I clicked on the link, and I noticed, sure enough, IMDb. That's not the right page. We need to hit back a few times. Here we go. IMDb for Johnny Gators, known for being himself as a guest on the Late Night Alternative with Ian Lee. And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. Some British celebrity called me about a year and a half ago or so, and that was fun. It was great fun to have on the line. We joked around a bit. I asked him if he ever smoked pot, and because that's what I had no idea he was a celebrity when he called in. I had no idea he was a celebrity when I got off the phone with him, because he was doing like the 2 a.m. graveyard shift. So I thought he was like just kind of some
just some dude, yeah.
Just some late night graveyard shift guy that if when you go to bed, you turn the TV and you'd watch Jay Leno, and then if you still couldn't get to sleep, you'd watch Conan O'Brien, and then if for some reason you didn't set the sleep mode on your TV, Carson Daly would play in the background while you're sleeping. So I kind of thought Ian Lee might have been like the Carson Daly of England. It's a name that people know, but no one ever really watches his show. The TV just happens to get left on by people that don't have a sleep mode and fell asleep with the TV still on. And I suppose there are ratings in that. But no, it turns out, and I figured this out rather quickly, because of course I followed him on Twitter. He followed me on Twitter. And then he showed up on a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And I'm like, oh, well, isn't this interesting? No, people actually have heard of this guy in England. Over here, in jolly old America land here, the name Ian Lee is not exactly a household name, but I'm not sure. So that was quite interesting, and I didn't know what to do with that, so I just kind of left it on Twitter, and that was that. But then I was reminded of this when I saw, oh my God, I have an IMDb credit for that phone call, which just was amusing to me. I don't think it's anyone can have an IMDb entry. All you got to do is get the pro account, which I think they give you a free 30-day trial. So if you out there are feeling left out, Dune, and you want your own Dune IMDb Dune entry, you can go ahead and sign up for a free Dune trial on that. And there you go. It's just that simple, Dune. I'm not trying to suggest that Dune has said that he has any kind of jealousy or anything, but yeah.
Did you tell him yet?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it yesterday on the Dune.
Oh, you
Bob
did?
Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Maybe we need to make an entry for Bob while we're at it too. But there we go. But not only that, if we drill down into this episode of the Late Night Alternative where we were called, who else is credited on participating in this show? Why, good old Brian Blues also has an IMDb entry. So there we go. You officially have a credit in England.
Awesome.
2 American blokes with an IMDb credit for a radio show in England. Yeah, isn't that kind of like the rock band that they're really big in Japan, but no one knows who they are around here?
Right.
It's
Exactly.
it's kind of like that. We ought to call up Chuckle Bump, see if she's heard of this guy. Or Dark Elf. Oh my God, we haven't heard from Dark Elf in so long. He was out there. Where was he? He was well, I know he wasn't near Cheddar. We established that Nottingham. He was out. Now I don't know where Ian Lee is or how. I don't even know if he's on airwaves or only internet. But he was also on TV, so that's cool. Yeah, so I found out not only that, but he posted a podcast of our call, because people over on his side of the pond heard him in the studio and us on the phone, and that's not how we heard it. And so immediately after we got off the call, some of his followers start following us on Twitter, and we're like, "Oh, you should post your audio so we can hear it on your side." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do that." And so I posted the audio, and his sound guy downloaded it, and they posted it as a bonus podcast. So No Holds Barred Radio and this show have been featured on his podcast, and I just want to play some of his wonderful intro that he did for that clip, because I was quite touched that he had such fun with us and thought enough of it to not even to talk about it and post it. That was pretty awesome.
Hello, dear listener. Welcome to a bonus podcast, and this is bonus because we do a thing called the radio lock-in, where if the show is going well, or in this instance, if the show's not going particularly well, and I think we've not delivered our money's worth, we'll stay on after 1 o'clock. Obviously, the late night alternative is weeknights on DAB, the Talk Radio app, or talkradio.co.uk, Monday to Friday, 10 o'clock at night until 1 o'clock. But we can go on a bit longer. We've done it about 4 or 5 times now. And Kath and I had sort of decided that we were going to keep the lock-ins separate from the podcasts, and that we weren't going to put them out as podcasts, and you kind of had to be there for it to be a bit exclusive. But we're going to fudge the rules slightly on this, because the one we did last night or this morning, the show had some good moments. The first show back had some. Matt Lucas was superb, and there were some good moments, but it was a little bit. It didn't quite get there. And so I decided to call a lock-in, and everyone agreed. Everyone has to agree for this, because I just felt that we hadn't quite achieved something. And then we started using that radio.garden website, which is just a joy. Go on that. It's at Radio Around the World, and we were listening to various radio stations around the world, trying to find one that we could phone into, and we couldn't. But then someone, because Matthew Stevenson, who does all my Rabbit Hole YouTube channel, he kind of streams it on. He's got his head screwed on, that lad, because he streams the show on things like I don't even know what, on Twitch and stuff like that. So it's just getting out on loads. I mean, we've actually got a bit of feedback from all these different places, and someone on one of these streams said, "Oh, try this radio station."
It was called No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred. What was it? It wasn't Syracuse, was it? I can't remember where it was. He said, "Try this," and we were like, "Oh, okay, this is the last one we'll try, and we'll do it." And we found, was it 2 blokes, 3 blokes?
3, 2 in the studio and 1 on the phone, wasn't there?
Yeah. I've seen the video of it. They're all doing it on Skype.
Are they?
Yeah, I'll show you the video of it. It was 3 blokes chatting, and it sounded like our show. That was the weird thing. It sounded like our show.
Except over there it was during the day, wasn't it?
It was evening, 8 till 10, I think their show is. It's a bit sweary, but it was that, and we thought, oh, we'll phone up, and we did, and we got on. And it was very, very funny. They were really, really nice blokes. There's a slight delay, and it's a bit tricky to hear what everyone was saying. But. So if you were listening to the lock-in, you will have heard the phone conversation, obviously, from...
But anyways, I just, I want you to hear the things he said about that. Was really cool. It
was cool.
He thought we sounded like his show. And I mean, here he's like running a professional show. And,
right.
Although we're a bit sweary. So I guess we got a
sweary.
We're a bit sweary. They're a little more lenient about that in England, aren't they?
I thought that they were.
Can you say fuck on the radio in England? I mean, can you fuck off the radio or fuck on the radio? Or,
I think they have these hours.
Oh, hours. Okay.
So after 10 p.m., you can cut loose a little more.
Well, he's over there at 1 a.m, so I think he can, fuck till the cows come home, right? But then when the cows come home, it's daytime, and you got to clean that up. No, I don't know. Maybe we are a bit sweary, but we can be. So we are. I don't know. I've thought about maybe trying to do a show where I don't swear, but if I did that, then I probably would end up swearing and just spend the whole show.
But we're
focusing
on
not
no
swearing.
holds barred. That almost kind of suggests that you're going to be sweary anyway.
Well, but I don't want to swear just for the sake of swearing.
Sure.
I don't know, but I do swear a lot. And I used to be opposed to swearing. Like I was the guy in high school that if someone at the lunch table dropped an F-bomb, I would, look at them and go, was that really necessary? To which they gave the obligatory response of, yes, it was fucking necessary. Which just pissed me off more. Because I was lame like that. So kind of funny how I did a complete 180 on that. And now I'll just,
So you turn to the dark side.
Yeah. Yes. But, you know what, which reminds me, well, that would be completely changing topics out of left field. But no, it was, and I guess that's when I realized, hey, you know what? This show has reached something, because I always felt like we haven't quite reached what I'm trying to reach with the show. It never really achieved what I wanted for it. Not that I ever really knew what I wanted for it. I thought it was going to be a gaming techie show, but that doesn't really work with radio, which even though we got cameras on and are on YouTube, we still have an audio-only stream, and we're still treating it like a radio show, so it kind of falls apart when we bring video into it in a prominent way.
And there isn't a huge interest in, this whole scenario.
Well, we haven't gotten interest
where we came from.
To be fair, we haven't generated interest in anything really. I mean, I don't know what our numbers are because I've never been all that focused on it. But we've not got interaction when we try to do anything. So we really just got to do what make ourselves happy here. Although I should see if we're getting any chats, because the Google Hangout room doesn't actually show me if any chats are happening in the YouTube. So that reminds me, I should bring that up and see if anyone's talking. But I did title this week's episode, "We Don't Suck. A Celebrity Said So." So there we go. And
if we had room, we would say, but we are a little bit sweary.
We are a bit sweary. Yes, I think we have room. You know what? I could make that in the here we go. I can click on edit video. And we'll go ahead and put in the descriptions, warning, we are a bit sweary. There we go. Save change. And it looks like we do have some chat going on. So I do need to get back there and check out from our loyal regulars. And we do have loyal regulars. Jose Guzman and Ellipsis Triangle Trap are both hanging out there in Chatland. So if you all want to take it on over, if you're not listening through YouTube, you should be listening through YouTube over at www.youtube.com/Johnny Gators, no H in Johnny. And you could go hang out there and talk. Jose Guzman said, hello, Gators and friends. Ellipsis Triangle Trap said, love the conversation tonight, guys. Much better than Gators talking more about his house. No offense. So, yeah. Have I been talking that much about my house?
I didn't think so.
Well, and
if you do, I kind of watch that kind of stuff on TV with HGTV and the home improvements. And
when you spend,
it can get a little bit boring, but then, hey, you change the channel or we change the conversation around, right?
Well, when you spend multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars on something, you tend to talk about it. So, no, I hear what you're saying. Perhaps we don't need to go into the details about how I learned how to sweat a pipe by watching a YouTube video, because you could just go watch that same YouTube video.
Well, and I did kind of egg you into continuing.
Yeah.
So you can blame me.
And I didn't flood the basement. Now, if I flooded the basement, that
could have been funny.
Yeah,
that could have been funny.
There are pictures of me crying, surrounded by water, with all like my 8-track tapes floating by. That would have been funny for everyone but me. But that didn't happen. So a brilliant moment of potential comedy was just squandered and lost to a job well done. But I have been getting heating bills that have brought tears to my eyes. Hopefully this winter will not drag out much longer, because I liked the summer heating bills better than the winter heating bills. Yeah. But then again,
I'm thinking
it's a
you
lot.
you got 8 weeks.
That's two
Hold
more.
on to your horses, buddy.
Well, that's 2 more bills. I can brace for 2 more. I can, although I still got to pay. Well, the last.
Now,
bill
do you have an operating fireplace that takes logs?
No, I do not. Now, I've thought of putting a wood-burning stove in, but that would take money, and all my money is going to the heating bill. But this is exactly the type of conversation they want us to avoid.
And that's kind of around in circles, because if you spent the money, then it could lower the heating bills. You see what I'm saying?
This is exactly the type of conversation our loyal viewers don't want us to be having.
Right. They're like, what?
So let's go back. I think they'd rather hear us talk about a guy living in a van down by the river than hear me talk about my house. But
a guy living by the river in a van,
down by the river.
Oh man! And we saw these people that were living in a van down in Monterey, and it was kind of cool and kind of creepy. It's kind of like, hey, dude, you're homeless. Oh, except you have that van that has the peace signs and crap spray painted on it.
There's something liberating about not being tied to all your possessions, but then again, I like my possessions, and yeah, I'm a prisoner of them, but it beats the alternative.
So give us the story on this van.
No, that was just the old Saturday Night Live sketch. Living in a van down by the river.
I thought this was something you witnessed.
No,
because I go into this thing that I just witnessed the last weekend of these people in this van. They were at the Wendy's. It was actually in Seaside, not in Monterey, but hey, it's next doors.
Anyways, Dune and Bob, Dune writes in, I thought he was going to say all his money was going to hookers. No, we
haven't come to that conversation yet.
No, that's your show, Dune. We don't have hookers on this show. No, but there's a town called Hooker in Oklahoma, and there might be a guy living in a van down by a river there as well. No, so the point is that I'm feeling proud to be a part of this show now, that because if someone calls in and they're like, hey, we had a lot of fun, and they're cool, you know what? You're always going to have critics, and we have our official critic, Jay Booger. But you know what? Ian Lee called in, and he liked the show. And I think I'd rather have praise from Ian Lee than praise from Jay Booger, or criticism from Jay Booger. I don't know where I was going with that. But the point is that it made me smile to see that, this got posted there. And I reached out to Ian Lee on Twitter when I posted a link to that, and I was like, hey, here's a trip down memory lane. This is great. And Ian Lee wants me to call into his show this week, either Thursday or Friday. So yeah, we'll see. I'm a bit nervous about that because I don't know what to talk about. I might call into his show and start talking about how I did some plumbing in the basement, and then Ian's going to be crying, like, oh my God, I invited this person to call into my show and he's teaching me how to plumb and he doesn't even know how to properly plumb, and what the. I mean, do they even use the same size pipes in England as we use here in America? And does that even make a difference? I don't know where I'm going with this. So let's talk about technology instead. Technology, because now, Brian, you've been well, before we go into technology, I two things that I was going to bring to the Dune and Bob show yesterday that I completely forgot to, purely because I thought Dune would appreciate the humor in these things. The first thing is a really short YouTube clip of someone that was going for a bit of a reach and someone thought it was one thing and it turned out to be something else. And the look, sometimes someone makes a look on a face that's just so priceless that it's just a beautiful piece of unintentional comedy. And I saw this on the Failarmy stream, because I'll watch Failarmy on Twitch for hours on end on the weekends. And when I saw this, I had to go searching to find it to go watch it again. And so here we go. Guy's going in, puts his arm around the girlfriend. She leans in. Aw, isn't this a sweet, tender moment here, Brian? Doesn't this look very sweet? Very sweet. So
is she 12 years old?
I don't know how old they are, but here's what happens next. Oh. And take a look at that face.
Oh man, you die, dude.
Oh, that's the funniest thing I've seen on the internet in a long time.
That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
So yeah, that was that I thought Dune would get a kick out of that. I was like, oh, I've got to send him a link of that in the next Dune and Bob show. And then we ended up talking about hookers the whole time.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he had the bandwidth to play that video, but that's okay. And then the other funny thing that I had was I've been watching a sitcom. Have you seen the sitcom The Kids Are All Right?
I haven't really. I think I've seen the ads for it. I haven't really watched it.
Okay. Well, you know, it's a sitcom about a family of like of many kids, a good Catholic family. So you know they have lots of kids of various ages, from younger to teenagers. They're all boys, and they're good practicing Catholics. And so one of the teenage boys, who's got a girlfriend that he's been hanging around with, stumbles in home at 3 a.m. One night. And what is a good Catholic father supposed to do with a situation like that? So the next day he basically says, get in the car, we're going to confession. And they had a little conversation. And this is just as a Catholic that understands the teachings of the Catholic Church and how they kind of clash with reality, I got a kick out of the way he handled this, and I just had to, you know, just a little plug for The Kids Are All Right, because I do think they have some comedic genius moments like this little chat here.
You notice how I ease down when I stop? It's less wear on the brake shoes, instead of stomping on them like an ape, the way you kids do.
I see. I'll definitely.
I was your age once too, you know. I'm also interested in the company of girls. It's a normal built-in thing. At 3 a.m.?
Dad, when do you...
I don't want to know. That nonsense is between you and Father down in the confessional. It's the value I get for my donation plate dollar. Talk it through with the priest, like you would any other sin. Just like you'd have to confess it if, say, you stole, or you murdered, or you, I don't know, walked into Parsons Pharmacy today. Bought a pack of condoms. All those things. Stealing, murder, rubbers. All mortal sins equally condemned by me and by God. They keep him behind the counter. So you have to ask the guy. But it's wrong. Can't emphasize that enough. Wrong and behind the counter. Bottom line, you get into confessional, you spill your guts. Clean slate. That's why Jesus died, so the Catholics get do-overs. How about that? Parsons Pharmacy is just a block away. Huh.
And that is how a Catholic father tells his son, go buy some condoms if you're going to be having sex.
Yeah.
Wrong and behind the counter.
I knew a guy that was a PhD student at Texas A&M. Of course, that brings the first question. You mean Texas A&M has a PhD program? Apparently, the answer is yes. But anyway, so the program was in statistics.
Is Texas A&M, like, do they do classes over AM radio? Is that how it works?
That's agriculture and mining.
I thought that's for amplitude modulation.
This is old school.
Oh. Well, AM's pretty old school.
Yeah, well, this is even older.
Okay. Well, I've derailed you long enough. Go ahead.
Anyway, so his field of study was statistics. And, you know, statistic means is, what do you want the answer to be? Okay. So one of the studies that he took part in was he was looking at the penalties of possession of marijuana in Texas.
Okay.
And he found that the white guys got a much stiffer sentence than a black guy.
Huh.
Because it was viewed that marijuana was a black man's drug.
So that made it more acceptable. Like, yeah.
You're still going to go to jail.
Black man committed a black crime, get a sentence. Yeah. White guy's like, what are you doing? That ain't a white guy crime.
I don't know if it's true or not. That was the story.
That's interesting.
Then there's the other story that ties to your past story, is that this was before Roe v. Wade.
Okay.
And they were interviewing women that had abortions.
Uh-huh.
And they found that a large number of them, and I don't remember the percentage, a lot of them were Catholics. It's like, what the hell?
Well,
and it was explained.
Clean slate.
An abortion is one sin. Taking the pill, depending on whether you include the placebo or not, is one every day. You know, one versus many, right? So they go for the one. Can't use the pill because it's a sin. And each pill is an individual sin. So just go for the big one.
So that's the age-old debate of quantity versus quality right there. Yeah, I think they're missing something there.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I don't, I have my issues. I continue to this day to have my issues with organized religion, and I don't think any one of them's got it completely right. I think they're all wrong in their own ways, which means that they might all be right in their own ways. But certainly, that's one of the things where I think the Catholic Church has got it all wrong with their whole attitude towards sex, and birth control is part of that, of course. Yeah. So there you go.
Well, we don't really need to go into a big discussion on religion and birth control, etc. But I mean, it was just an interesting thought. Let's just leave it at that.
No, that is interesting. That but it all goes. I don't know. That's an interesting one. One sin versus, but then again, that means you're still going into it by choosing your sin based on quantity, because then you'll go in and get forgiven. And can you really be forgiven for something that you're not sorry for?
Again, that gets deeper into the weeds there.
Yeah, it's deep. It's deep. But or can you go into something and still be sorry for it when that's the plan? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
These are difficult, deep things that I think we all have to find our own thoughts and.
Okay, next topic.
Yeah. So let's instead take a look at now. Brian has been sharing us videos of all kinds of little fun gadgets to make weird noises, and I've kind of been amused by them. Mildly amused, and I've not really gone all out into like, yeah, that's cool. I mean, I thought they made some cool sounds, but because that's all not cool to me, because it's like, well, I could make any sound I want to on this computer here that I'm sitting at, and this right here is a great example of this is a emulator for a mini Moog, and I could hit the and it comes with some presets here. Like we could go ahead and select Super Bob. Now, I also have right over here, behind me, a rather cheap Yamaha keyboard that has MIDI out and in. And my M Audio Delta 1010 LT sound card does have MIDI out and in as well. So I bought a 5-pin DIN cable and I've plugged it in so I can, And so, yeah, that's basically, I got, just about any synthesizer I want right in this room here with me. And so, with all your talk and interest in that, I thought I would share that a little bit on the show this week. Some kind of multi-note program that was built into it. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So now the basic premise of the Mini Moog is that you got oscillators in here, and you can set what range they're in. So let's go ahead and turn off. Well, let's just pick a standard sound to start with. So anyways, we'll just go ahead and turn off these oscillators. And I don't even know how to get this to start. Because right now we can. I don't fully know how to use this, but anyways, so we could kind of set what range that's higher, and that's a sawtooth wave. We could also, take a triangle wave, which is more pure. I think we got different. We can go higher. And we could add other, oscillators to that. And so we could put like a, square wave to that. Anyways, these are fun things you can play around with and find on the internets out there. And I don't know, Brian, do you have any ideas about what to do with this?
Was this software a freebie?
Oh, no. Well, if you know where to look. No, it's...
No, I mean, it's commercial software then.
Yeah, it's commercial software. You might be able to find some trials of this stuff if you search around. The Russians might be able to help you out with that. Jose Guzman is going, wow, cool software. And there might be other things similar to this that are free.
What was this one called again?
That one is actually made by Arturia, and it's called Mini V3 by Arturia. And this software I just brought up right now is called B42. Let's see, and I forget who makes this software. This is an installer I downloaded many, many years ago, back when I was using Windows XP, and it still works. But I can't get the help to show me anything about it.
Now, it requires a MIDI interface card or no?
Well, no. As you can see here, you can click the keyboard with your mouse and get sound. But the other thing you could do with these things is you could use another audio software that does MIDI things like Cubase. And I'm opening up Cubase right now. And so we'll go ahead and create a default scoring for a piano page, just for the heck of it. And let's see, we got a USB input, MIDI in. There we go. And we'll do that for the out. And there we go. So we could record into MIDI on here. And let's see if this is working. I don't see anything moving. Oh, there we go. And my MIDI keyboard is not actually... I didn't plan on teaching how to make MIDI this week, so I haven't reviewed how to do this. But you can basically make a MIDI track, and then you can use these softwares that have virtual instruments as the instrument that plays back the MIDI that you recorded, because they are also VST plugins. So you could come over here and click somewhere on here. Well, that's doing that now. But yeah, I mean, this isn't a MIDI teaching class, and I'm probably sounding about as exciting as I am when I'm talking about my house.
And it's not exactly a prepared demo.
No, I didn't prepare to do a demo. You've been into the cool geeky audio stuff, so I just threw some stuff on my computer to see if you were into it or not, and now I'm giving a boring description of things I'm not prepared to talk about.
Right.
So this is my just after I talked about how awesome and good this show is. So
right.
There is.
So suffice it to say, you could take the different software and link them together, and also link it to your physical device through the MIDI cables and interface.
Now that made piano sounds in addition to the Hammond sounds, but it still didn't record anything. So I'm not sure why I'm not getting MIDI recordings on here.
Maybe you didn't hit the record button.
Well, I'm record enabled. Let me take it back to the beginning, and let's see. So we're record enabled. We have enabled writing, and we're going to hit the record button. And
it's
I don't.
Red.
Yeah.
It's red. So hit some keys.
All right, and it looks like we got some
something.
Yeah, but it looks like we only recorded for a certain number of bars because we only had this area selected, so then it stopped recording once we got past there. So yeah, we got if we play this back, it should play that on general MIDI. If we could get it to... Oh, here we go. So let's see if we can hear what it plays back. All right. So we recorded MIDI. Yay! Cool. Is this exciting or what?
Totally exciting.
We recorded MIDI. So now to figure out how to make this where the setting is to make it a virtual instrument. And I think we could go to the web for that. Cubase virtual instrument MIDI. And adding VST instruments. Okay. On devices menu, select VST instrument. Right click on empty area of the VST instrument window. Select add track instrument, add rack instrument. Okay, let's take a look. Devices, VST instruments, no instruments. So we could add the B4 too. And oh, there we go. We now have a B4 organ over here. So I can't make that part be the organ. So we'll just go ahead and delete that. But now I should be able to start recording a little soul explosion sound effects here. So we'll go ahead and I don't know why there's 2 tracks there. But let's go ahead and roll with it. That's mutant solo. That's lock. Okay, so I think we're in record mode. I'm just hitting some random keys there. And I can also hit a little bass pedals over there. It doesn't look like it recorded that, though. Yeah. And so now if we come back here, we can play that back. And it should sound like... Now, I should be able to take any MIDI that I record and fill it in with this instrument. But so, yeah, you could really emulate classic keyboard sounds with MIDI recordings. So that's kind of cool. Now, unfortunately, I've not figured out how to make this work with the mini Moog. That crashes it. I found. Oh, it didn't crash it. Oh my God, it worked this time. All right, let me see if I can add the modular Moog. Okay, and let's go ahead and add instrument number 3. And there we go, synth, modular V3, create. Oh yeah, there we go. So I could like be, Mooging and organing it up here in Cubase and making all kinds of cool things. I won't do that right now because that would get really boring. But I have had interest in like making my own versions of a Moog album without buying lots of outdated equipment that'll break down on me constantly. I don't know.
You have enough to create a demo, and then you go, hey, look what I worked on. I got a demo. I use this parts, plugged in together, recorded it, and here's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And, I got some things over here. I bought music in paper form because there were things that I played in concert.
Why don't you hold the page up to show people what that looks like?
Well, this here is a conductor's score for Jubilant Overture by Alfred Reed. And I bought this because this was something I played in concert band in high school that I enjoyed playing in. It was a really fun piece. And, I wanted to do something with that. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll make like a synthesized version of it. I don't know how well that would work, whatever. And so I bought the score because you could buy this pretty cheaply online. And the conductor score has all the parts laid out on here. Although you got to transpose them all, so that's fun, and that way I could go through and make my. And I never got around. I bought this when I was living in Maine, and now I've just dug it out of the basement again because I have a keyboard hooked up here, and maybe I'll find some free time to do this, but probably not. But I do have the recording of when we played this, I believe. Oh, here we go. This was junior year that we did this. And notice the horns got the lead right there at the beginning. It is like really jubilant, hence the name Jubilant Overture. And so, yeah, I did buy the score to that, and that was cool. And then I was scouring eBay, and we played another piece this same year by a guy by the name of Martin Mailman. It was called Geometrics Number 4, and it was kind of my introduction into the avant-garde, things that sound a little different. Unfortunately, our performance of this wasn't the best, but you kind of get the idea. It's in 5/4. And it was around this point that we had a long rest, and so I had the horn down my lap, and I started going, number 4, number 4, number 4, number 4, and that got a laugh out of some of the other French horn players. Because it was called Geometrics Number 4, as opposed to Revolution number 9. But
I was going to say the Beatles got it wrong.
But this does have harmonies and chord structures and melodies. They're just very different from anything that I was used to before I ever heard this. But it's got this sneaky bass line thing going on. And then you got like a bell woodwind counter melody coming in here. But you listen to this enough and it makes sense. Took me a while. I hated this for a good long while. But
isn't the first barrier that 5/4 time?
Yeah, this is in 5/4. So that's odd to start with. But like for example, here we're gonna get the slow part with these creepy chords and this, melody. And this does have kind of its own little charm. This is something that you could start humming in your head if you hear it enough times.
Are you familiar with the song Take 5?
Yeah, well that's a very famous 5/4 song.
Yes. Actually, this last week, Larry and my pal, we played it. Tried it once, just for the hell of it. Other attempts fell on its face. But we kind of... Okay, we still sucked at it, but at least we gave it some effort. And it's kind of like... I know it says 5/4 time, but it just didn't feel right. Maybe because we were doing it wrong. Of course, we were playing a lot slower than those guys.
So it sounded more like it was 1/1 time. Bum, bum,
right.
Bum, bum.
We weren't that slow.
You need to.
I mean, you could, shall we say, feel the, the basic melody.
If you ain't feeling the 5, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
But
Larry was doing it fairly well, so he was probably feeling the 5.
Okay.
I just wasn't. Oh, I'm the bass player. I definitely need to be doing the 5.
You need to be feeling it. You need to feel your bass a bit better.
Absolutely.
But so I did find a score for Geometrics number 4. It was on eBay, and not only does it have the conductor's score, but it has everyone's parts. So if I ever want to put together a concert band and start handing music out,
matching keys, you mean?
Well, the conductor.
I mean, the C instruments, the B flat instruments, the whatever.
The conductor's score shows the same thing that's on these pages, just all lined up. So I'd still have to transpose if I'm because.
Oh, in this book you have to transpose. Oh, if you're going to play them, because you have to.
Right.
Transpose the B flat instruments to a C instrument because you're playing C.
Right. I'm playing a keyboard in C, but the French horn parts are in F. And so I had to transpose the F to C, which is the type of stuff that music professors want you to be really good at and know like the back of your hand. And that's why I don't like music professors all that much, because fuck you, you got technology to do that stuff, so I don't have to think
That's right.
about
You
it.
Got something called transcript.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Because there's such a thing as F horn in F, and there's horn in B flat. And
right.
I remember when I was in orchestra, Dr. Dietrich was handing out the parts. And he got to the person sitting next to me, and the person sitting next to me was a music education major. I'm a rec tech major, so he's like, here you go, horn and F, I'm happy you can play. Goes to the person next to me, it's like, you're a music education major, you need to know how to transpose. Here, you get the B flat part. So, yeah. That's the type of...
Actually, the way Western music does it with these instruments are these different keys.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
I mean, a C is a C is a C is a C, except when you're on a B flat instrument.
Well, the concept is that you want to get a call on the line is what you want to do. And
hello, venison.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Beautifully.
See,
God.
We all know how to play an F. Isn't that right, venison?
Oh, yeah,
Give me
right.
enough.
But the idea is to write music in a way that it's on the staff, not on a bunch of lines way underneath the staff or a bunch of lines way above the staff. And that's why you have different clefs. But then they also come up with different keys. And it's one of those things where I don't think anyone sat down and said, right, we're going to come up with one logical system to do all this. It's something that just happened over time. And there are certain standards that we just have. You know, music is just as fucked up as anything else in life.
Sure.
And that's why you get stuff that sounds like this. Because, hey, we may as well put fucked up tonality in there as well.
Yeah. I don't write music. I just put it together
Yeah.
as I go along. And it works out good.
There we go. The obligatory applause to whatever the fuck that was that just happened. Anyways,
Yeah, I had to worry about what the fuck that was, but trying to get Skype to run. Unbelievable.
Trying to get into that closet.
but yeah, well, that closet door is so rarely open, and I somehow left it open a crack, so Kat's like, ooh, boy, I can go in here where I normally can't go, and that intrigues
Check it
me.
out. Maybe I'll leave a present behind.
No. She knows where the litter box is. She only pees on other things for spite, and that tends to be the bed or the futon. So I'm just kind of glad she's not jumping on the futon right now, but she seems to be struggling to get that door open. Oh, almost. Oh, you're really trying for it. For those on the audio stream, my cat is got the closet doors open a crack, and she wants to go in there, and she cannot for the life of her get the door to swing open, and it's the cutest thing to watch. But anyways,
Now, is there something that's blocking the door from being open?
oh no, it'll swing right open. There's nothing blocking
Oh,
it.
she just hasn't figured it out yet.
Yeah, well, there's some wires, but she hasn't even gotten that far.
Cats are slow to learn.
Now, the thing is there aren't even necessarily universal standards to transposition and keys that instruments are in, because like I said, the conductor had horn parts written in F horn or B flat horn, and handed the person next to me the B flat part just because, well, this is the odd one, and this is not how you're used to thinking about it, and this will be a good exercise for you to get good at transposing on the fly, because you're a music education major and you'll need to know things like this. So what really sucked was Gothard, a longtime, friend and co-host of the show. He learned to play baritone in high school in treble clef, a rather unusual way to notate baritone parts is doing a treble clef in, I think, G? I might be wrong on that. And that's how his parts are always distributed to him in high school. But that's not how it's normally done. And so all of a sudden he gets to college. Mind you, he's rec tech, so he really don't care about playing the baritone. He just has to be in something that does music. And so he does a concert band, and they always hand him parts that were written in a completely different key than he's used to working in. And that is why he really he didn't even bother to audition because the thing about concert band is there's different chairs and status, and you audition so that you can be ranked against your peers, and then when you sit down in rehearsal every week, everyone knows who's better than who.
That's right. In the end, it's all about your IMDb listing.
Right. Now, if only more workplaces would work like this. If they arrange your cubicles based on who is better than who, that might help a lot, because there'd be no question about it. It's like, yeah, well, look at where you're sitting and look at where I'm sitting. In fact, I think there was a guy at Tharco that always based his life around how close his chair was to the CEO's office. And he managed to get to the next door from the CEO's office. He was then...
Who was that?
Well, that was Bob Perez. Yeah, he was very big on status and
well, he's the guy that got the promotion.
Yeah, and then he got the "Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out."
And everybody was
farewell
dancing on the
email.
table.
Yeah, there were two ways people were let go from that company. One was, a big to-do. The other was the polite email giving credit for the contributions that you brought to the workplace, which Nick always referred to as the "don't let the door hit your ass on the way out" email. That was the send-off that Bob Perez got. But he then... all I'm going to say is we collected his laptop. He called someone and said, I had pictures on that laptop that I'd like to get back. I was tasked with get Bob Perez's laptop, find any pictures on them, put them on a, CDR or something so we could send them to him. They were all pictures of different women.
He had his little black book on his on the computer.
I guess this was how he could keep them straight by, I need my pictures of my women's or I can't know who's who. So
right.
I should have started trading file names for pictures just to throw him off. But
oh, dude, that's the best way to end a relationship.
Hey, you didn't want that relationship anyway, right?
The only other thing I remember about that guy was the one time I worked on his laptop, his instant message client was open, and some chat popped up. Oh, sweetie, how your wisdom tooth doing? Something to that effect. And I just, quickly minimized that and continued working on his laptop. But,
hello, Barbara. Barbara, I'm Janet. Slap.
To be fair, I don't know that he was dating the various women who he had pictures of on his laptop at the same time. I just assumed it was, one after the other, and he kind of had a little scrapbook thing going on in the laptop there and wanted to retrieve those back for his, happy memories.
And wanted to call back, just in case.
I don't know. All I cared about was if the laptop worked and didn't have a virus on it. It was basically, here's what you asked for. Here you go.
There was a MASH episode in the whole series, and one of the patients got a Dear John letter from his girlfriend because apparently he wasn't high enough in the social status, so she dumped him.
Right. Oh.
And she was asking for her picture back, kind of insult to injury. Okay. And he was really pissed off about it. And the doctor suggested, hey, look, what we'll do is we'll collect a bunch of pictures of women and have them just send all the pictures, and says, I forget what you look like. Why don't you pick out the one and send the rest back?
That is a great way to go with that.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, the whole point I was getting at here was that was the way concert band worked, was that you auditioned.
Sure.
And in the horns, as you two know, it's worthwhile pursuing that because the horns come in 4 parts. So there is something to a status of if you're, playing, first horn, second. In high school, I worked my way up to, second horn. Actually, no, I worked my way up to first horn. I was, yes, by senior year, I was first chair, first horn, which goes to show how weak our horn section was by senior year of high school.
Well, I never made it to first horn.
Well,
I was either second or third.
Well, by the time I got to senior year, there were only 4 horns. It was me and Steve who were both seniors, and we basically tied neck and neck for the auditions. But I did better on the solo part, and he did better on the scales. So that bumped me up to first chair. But we did trade off for a few pieces. And then the other 2 horn players were freshmen or sophomores. So it was just we normally had 8 horns, 2 to each part, but we were lean on the horns by our senior year. We were not good at recruiting new horn players. I don't know if it was me or if it was Steve or if it was a combination of us or could have been because I was that creepy guy that was going after the drum majors. But anyways, I
knew it.
Well, they had some really hot drum majors in my time there, and they're up there in a marching band waving their hands around. And what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to lock eyes on the drum major. So I was locking eyes on the drum major, like, yeah. Yeah, you're kind of cute. Yeah, move those hands. And
Slap.
And this is why we didn't have any French horn players by the time we got to senior year. Yeah. Pardon me while I just wipe my nose up here. Anyways,
Hey, I won't say it.
sorry, my nose was running. I had to grab a tissue for my nose.
Your nose was running?
Yes. Thank you. Anyways,
Okay.
so when I get to college, I work my way up to at some point being second horn. I think it was first chair, second horn at some point was what I worked my way up to. And I was kind of proud of that. And I always, said to Gothard, well, how do you do in your auditions for baritone? He's like, I'm not bothering. And he always sat all the way down at the end in the last chair of the row of baritones. And, my first few years, I'm like, what are you doing there, Gothard? You gotta take some pride in what you're doing there and, move your way closer to Beth. And he's like, no, man. And he's like, besides, Todd's always the first chair trombone, and the last chair, baritone sits next to the first chair trombone, and Todd's kind of fun to sit next to. And really what it came down to, the French horns had 4 different parts. So there was a chance you'd be playing different notes based on your performance. The baritones had 1 part. The only thing you could gain is being the best baritone, and if there's a part that has a solo that calls for a baritone soloist, you might get that. And he knew there was no way in hell he was getting that. So it's like, and he knew he struggled with transposing, and he only cared about recording music. He didn't care about playing it. So it's like, why am I going to bother going through all this trouble? As long as they give me a chair to sit in, I'll sit there. So I think he had the smarter idea, because did I get anything out of being my, first chair, second horn? Other than bragging rights, like more than 10 years later when I'm doing an internet radio show to 3 people, I didn't get much more out of that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
before I found the music for Geometrics number 4, I was doing searching for Martin Mailman and Geometrics on YouTube, and I found this bundle of music for real cheap called Geometrics and Sound for Band by Martin Mailman. This is actually Geometrics number 2. So there was a Geometrics numbers 1, 2, and 3, and in addition to 4. And I bought this just because it was a piece with a similar name to something I liked by the same composer. And I've never heard this. I only had the music. And this one is different in that it does a lot of time signature changing. And I have midified a little bit of it some years ago, so I had an idea of what it sounded like. And it kind of like did this like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, dum 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 bum ba bum ba bum. It had a lot of ba-da-dums in it. Should we go back to talking about the house?
Yeah, the house.
No, let's not talk about houses.
All right. Well, venison.
I'm still upset about what they did to mine. Oh.
You know what? Venison? I know how to take your mind off of that.
I know how to. I'm already doing it.
Hey, did you hear the show earlier?
No. Too busy trying to get your shit working.
You remember about a year and a half ago we got called by that guy doing a radio show in England named Ian Lee.
Ian Lee.
Yeah, Ian Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I called him up too.
Yeah. Well, we actually got he posted the audio from our show from that back when we did that. And,
I heard it.
Yeah, and he credited us on
IMDb.
Yes. Brian has a credit on IMDb. I have a credit on IMDb. You didn't get an IMDb credit.
I'm wondering why. Since I called them, we had a grand old time too.
I think that was whoever was posting the upload. They didn't catch your name, or they didn't know how to spell venison, or what a venison is. It was probably nothing personal.
Brian, they know what it is.
No, Brian said I shouldn't tell you, but I was.
Oh, I knew
Right.
it. I kind of figured that.
Well, hey, you know what?
You're not the only one.
Part of the
you know.
drama and the back and forth.
When Dune signs up for his free trial to add his entry, maybe he could put one on for you.
Right.
You know, after all, no. You're not
I
the
mean,
only
after all,
one who Googled your name. I Googled mine, too.
Yeah.
And found out I came across a whole bunch of weird places.
Okay. Let's venison 88, all one word, or
Yep.
Let's see.
Yep.
Let's see. Venison stew.
I'll put that in there.
Steve's sanatorium. Whoa! Wait a minute. You were committed in a sanatorium?
Steve's sanatorium?
Yeah. Oh! Your name is mentioned on the the No Holds Barred post on the Late Night Alternative. So, but they gave me the quote. They actually put under that a quote for that podcast. Some of us do fun stuff, and some of us don't do fun stuff. Johnny Gators. Of course,
Pretty good quote.
Well.
I mean, so you actually have two quotes, right? Am I right?
What's my other?
There's the
quote?
one you just said, and then do you smoke pot?
Yeah, well, I put that quote on there, but onto Twitter. But no, that quote was because we were talking about pot, actually, because he remember he called in and he said, hey, we heard that you do some fun stuff here, and being that we were talking about how venison smokes pot and you never smoke pot. I said, well, some of us do fun stuff and some of us don't do fun stuff. So that was what I meant by
that's the context.
that was I was referring to the whole you being straight edge there is what I was getting at. But
not being fun stuff.
yeah. So that was all right. Let's see. We got to find out what the deal is with the sanatorium, though. Is Steve's sanatorium? What is Steve's sanatorium? I don't even know. It's a live journal page. Let's see where you come into this. Good news for those of you who have followed Venison 88's saga of Venison Stew. The situation is finally resolved, and he will be able to. Moving right along.
Okay, that sounds like something old.
Yeah. Well, the last
during the bad Wi-Fi days.
It was basically saying that you were able to keep your house, and I should have.
Oh.
I should have read that before I started reading it out loud, because now don't I look like an idiot?
Yeah, there were a few instances where I did almost lose it, but found some way to stop it. But toward the end there was nothing that could be done.
At some point, paperwork resulted in that being property of someone else who, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they got to clean it up. Good for them.
I think that gasoline match done.
Damn near.
If they didn't do it that way, that means someone found a thermos.
Ooh.
I wonder what happened to those Black Widow spiders. There were two of them in the jar. They ate all the other spiders, and those were the only two left.
It's a brutal world.
Oh, man. Bad stuff.
Spider eats spider.
Let's see. Modern Cookery, 7th edition. Well, they have venison with an 88 sweet sauce.
Nah.
That's the wrong venison.
Yeah.
That's the real venison stew.
Yes, exactly. Looks like Venison 88 is going on after things and stuff, so there's going to have been or will be whatever over 12 hours of content straight on. Oh, that's Andre Lewis talking about show stuff. Let's see. Wild Bunch Radio, Venison 88 is forced off the air. Oh, wow. You...
yeah, that's when I had that flu real bad. I decided to get on anyway. When I got on, I was on about 10 minutes, Is that you sound like shit, man. You sound really bad. Get off the air. Go to bed.
Oh, I found a forum thread that refers to you by your first name. Are we allowed to say that on the air?
I like rather not. I like to keep the anonymity thing going.
All I did was Google Venison 88 to find this, but
yeah. Like a lot of people do that, but still.
So I listened to the old first name call from September 11th, 2007, and I wish someone would tell him his year ban is up. I did find his radio show Venison Stew, though, for those who want to hear more his first name. technofragradio.com/show/venison stew/venison88 HTML. That link's bad. There's no.
Duh. Yeah, that's click on a link to a site that's not there anymore.
So what were you banned from? What is Friends of Tom?
Oh, okay. No, that was on FMU.
FMU, yes.
Yeah, it's just, it was, I don't know, it was something that was being said. It was like, it basically was just kind of a joke thing, something that they do. They banned a caller for about a week or whatever. Then they unban him.
Well, apparently you got banned for a year, and in 2007, and this thread was in 2009, where people are like, "Oh man, that guy's amazing. I wish he'd call back. Like your ban's over." Let's see. That why don't we got to make up a first name for you?
Crazy.
Let's say his name's Chuck. That Chuck call was amazing. I thought it was a character calling in for a while. His voice is insane. Bring back Chuck.
Wow, that's good.
Hearing him every week on the theme song is enough for me. Regular calls from him would get old really fast. You're telling me. I mean, yeah. Wait, what? So apparently you were featured in their theme song?
I was?
It sounds like someone referred to that. Here's a link to his archives. He is still cranking them out. hkcradio.com/venison. Nope, that's not found. Venison stew tastes like elk sausage. I don't want that. Okay, so there were a few people that thought you were funny in 2009. So that's cool.
Yeah. Larger network too, not bad. But where are they now? Shit, and I forgot what else I was going to ask about that. Now, you find any more weird ones? Because, like I said, I came across some strange ones, and one of them was a car dealership. Believe it or not, I'm not sure where that one came from. God damn, I can't remember them now. It's been so long. But they were weird places.
Oh my God, we're still listed on iTunes, but I haven't posted an episode since 2016.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, I had to manually upload each recording every week. It was a pain in the ass. and I didn't feel like I was getting many followings from it. It just didn't seem worth the effort. Besides, at this point, they're all archived on YouTube. But I did do it for about the first few months of this iteration of the show. And I have 2 reviews for my iTunes listing. Love this show. Been listening for a while. Your show is awesome. Love the "What did you learn today" thing. Well, we still do that.
Yeah.
We still do that.
I bet they do.
Yeah, that is one of the highlights of the show, I think. As long as I'm not talking about my house.
Right.
Or your job.
Oh, God. Let me tell you about my job.
Let's not.
I just have to point out 2 highlights of the day. 2 highlights of the day, okay? Highlight number 1. about 12 people were off-boarded that shouldn't have been off-boarded because they were supposed to be transferred as employees of one company to employees of a different company because they were set up initially as one company. And people on this side took them out of the system, but people on this side didn't add them in as there. And so in the system, they were listed as not being employees anymore, and suddenly their emails were turned off. And no one knows who needs to do what to turn them back on. So they're just SOL until someone figures that out. Highlight number 2, the phone lines in the conference rooms got the doo-doo-doo because someone forgot to pay January's phone bill. So that's...
Oops.
That's the organization level of this operation at this state and time. So I have a feeling 2019 is going to be a great year for this company. So that's about all I have to say about that this week.
Oh, man.
I did, however, get a great Christmas gift that is going to help me so much in the workplace. It was a stocking stuffer from my dad because my dad still has stockings for all us kids at his house, so that if we're there on Christmas or the next time we visit after Christmas and we exchange our Christmas gifts, he brings us our stocking that has, you know, treats and candies and things like that. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen here and take a look at that right there, Brian. Can you read that can?
No, I can't.
Oh man.
Can you zoom it up?
Let's see if I can do that. There we go.
That's not a lot bigger.
It's all right. Let's. Oh,
there you go.
there we go. But
Whoops.
no.
Whoops! What happened?
What happened is Dude's real name got flashed on the screen for a little bit.
That was so fast. It was more of a flash than anything.
There we go. Now you should be able to read that.
Bullshit repellent.
Yes.
Nice. That was from your dad?
Yes.
Awesome.
That was well, what was funny was I opened this up and he goes, "Oh, this is a regift, courtesy of your brother." And I open it up and I'm like, "What? Greg gave this to you and you were gifted?" He goes, "No. One of my dad's friends from way back in the day when he was, in a Firebird club, gave him that as a gift." And he said, "Well, I found it in the basement, and Greg saw it and said that you had your eye on that." I was like, I don't ever remember seeing this. And so I asked Greg about it. I'm like, "Hey, Greg, what's the deal with the bullshit repellent kit?" He's like, "You don't remember? We found that in the box with the horse's ass trophy and all that stuff, and you were laughing about it." I was like, "I remember the horse's ass trophy, but I don't remember the bullshit repellent." But it is still funny, and I display it proudly on my desk at work now because I need it. It's too bad that it's not, real. But there you go. Prevents and cures chronic bullshitting, supposedly. But yeah, the horse's ass trophy was my dad's bowling trophy. Apparently, he didn't get a good score, so so they gave him a trophy for that. I always, when I first saw the trophy, my thought was, "Where's the other half of this? There's got to be another trophy somewhere in here that's got the front half." And then when I read that it was for a low average, that's when I was like, "Oh, I get it." All right.
This thing is quiet.
What other topics we got? Because I mean, we could play more keyboards, but I don't think anyone's having fun with that.
I'm so pissed off at Skype. I'm on the Windows 7 machine right now.
You changed machines.
Nothing wrong with Windows 7.
Well, this one was a bit. It's been off for a while, for a few months. So when I turned it back on, everything had to be was updating itself or reconfiguring itself and all kinds of shit.
Okay, I got you. I've been doing something fun. So I for a while I replaced the LCD screen on Marvin's old laptop, which is an old. Actually, it came with a Windows Vista license, but we only ever used Windows XP or 7 on it at the workplace, and I've got Windows 7 on it. I wasn't sure I could get Windows 10 working on it, and I decided, you know what? It's an older laptop that I just bought for chatting and emails and maybe a few cheap games when I'm traveling somewhere and need something to do. I figured, why don't I just throw a Linux distribution on there? And I mean, I know how to check email and browse the internet in Linux. So, I mean, and it's just a laptop that I'm not going to do much on. So that gives me, something to dick around with Linux on. And so I decided, after going over the different distributions of Ubuntu, to give Kubuntu a try. Because Kubuntu is a desktop Linux, and it's a bit lighter on the resource requirements than the current Ubuntu desktop. So I figured, Kubuntu being a lighter desktop version of Linux would probably be a good way to go on an older laptop. It's got 4 gigs of RAM, so it's not the heaviest computer, but it's adequate for some basic stuff. And
is a computer like a Pentium 5 or a Celeron?
I forget. It's downstairs though.
Okay.
I think it's a Celeron around that era or something like that. I don't know. I have to look at it. But anyways, so I threw that on there, but I still really don't understand Linux or the mindset of Linux. Because whenever, for example, so I figure one of the first things I want to do is play Nintendo games on it. And I have a bunch of Nintendo ROMs. And I could copy those over onto the laptop, and I could get a Linux version of a Nintendo emulator and connect my USB Nintendo controller there, and there we go. Hundreds and hundreds of games right there, very easily, one install. So, of course, in a Windows world, what would I do? I'd open up a browser. I'd do a Google search for Nintendo emulator. I'd read up on what the current latest and greatest is. I see Nestopia still has a pretty good reputation. You go to Nestopia's website, you find a download link, you download an executable, you run it, bam, installer is done, and you have Nestopia installed, and you open it up and you use it. It doesn't work that way with Linux.
No, it doesn't.
You go to Nestopia's site, and they say, yeah, we have a Linux version, and they list different Linux distributions that they have versions for. And the links go to the websites of those Linux distributions. They don't go to a download. They don't go to a page with a download. So I'm like, okay, where's the installer? Where's the download? Why are you telling me you have it and then taking me to Kubuntu's
Is it in their library?
Because
it's in the library, then you just apt-get it.
Right, but how would I know that?
I told you about Synaptic.
What's Synaptic?
Synaptic is a GUI version that does everything. It's supposed to be doing everything that apt-get does.
So how do I know what I can or can't install from Synaptic or apt-get? Because you have to know the name of the software.
But the GUI, Synaptic GUI, shows all of the programs. You can search from them by type. In other words, in this case, it's game, or maybe under emulator.
So you
can use keywords to search for. What would you search for? Nintendo or something else, or who's the guy that put together this version?
So Linux just works based on an app store, and if it's not in there, you're out of luck.
No, that's not true. There are ways to pull in other things. You download things and you install them. And usually they tell you how to do it.
Now here's the thing. I am getting it. I mean, at this point, I've kind of gotten that if I open up a prompt and I type in sudo apt-get space install space name of program, I got a good 50-50 chance that I'm going to end up with the thing I typed in and installed. Now, if that is a valid software, that is available to do.
Yeah, if that's in your repository,
right?
That list,
and
or
but,
suppository,
but
depending
I don't
on how you look
understand
at
how you get to the point of knowing that it's available for you to apt-get. I'm still not getting that part. And
well, there are search methods from the command line, but those are tedious. That's why you use Synaptic. In fact, the only thing I do with Synaptic is to pull up the GUI and search for things, and they'll have comments, instructions, etc., that tells it how it works. And then I'll go back to the command line and install it.
All right. You know what? This is slightly more interesting than talking about my house, so I think I'm going to allow it. I'm going to go ahead and screen share again, and we're going to bring up my virtual Kubuntu machine.
Here we go.
And let's learn how to do this the GUI way, to at least be able to find what we're looking for. So here we go. This is a clean Kubuntu install I did on a VM recently to play around with different distributions of Ubuntu. And I at some point need to blow these out because they're just taking up space. But this is useful to be educational here, as we try to be on this show. And I'm still stalling for time while this boots up because this is a slow VM we got going here. But here we go. Here's our desktop. And we got our virtual wired connection. Okay. So I'm looking for Synaptic, you said?
Yeah. And that may not be installed, so you can install it.
Now, how would I know to install that or to get that or to... How do I know any of these things? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead.
You're supposed to know some of these things before you even start.
So, to get the thing that lets me install things, I have to install the thing that lets me install things.
Yeah.
Synaptic? Synaptic?
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right. And there we go. And it's installing. Wow,
You're a winner already.
I'm like able to do certain things in Linux. This is scary. All right, so now if I go to my start menu here, I should have.
Wait a minute. Did it install itself?
No, he installed it from the command line.
I installed it using sudo apt. I used apt-get to install Synaptic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here we go. Synaptic Package Manager. Okay, so I need to install this on my laptop downstairs after the show here. All right, so we got Synaptic Package Manager. Software in your system is organized in so-called packages. The package manager enables you to install, to upgrade, or remove software packages. You should reload the package information regularly, otherwise you can miss important security upgrades. Okay, so how do I do that? Or how do I keep this up to date? Oh, reload. So I need to do that like every time I open this up or every so often. Okay, all right. Cross-platform, database debug, development, editors, email, fonts, desktop environments, games and amusement, multi. I got a low. Let's see, multiverse, universe, 3D chess, 4 digits. Now, what about software that you buy? How do you buy Linux software? Because this is all free software, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then you find out, you go to it, and they should give you instructions on how to download it, presumably after you pay them. Or if somebody's not in the repository, you go to his site, and he'll tell you how to install it, and hey, it's free, buddy.
Okay. Well, let's see. So I did a search for Nintendo to see what shows up. But these... Oh, Wiimote, Z, SNES, DS Moom. These are Moopin. I think these relate to a Nintendo DS, plug-in based Nintendo 64 emulator, core library. So what was it that I said I was trying to install? Nestopia. And there we go, Nestopia. And so I could go ahead and mark that for installation. And now I could just see that that's the name of it and do an apt-get, which is your preferred method, right?
Yeah, but you can do it here. And either method is going to say, oh, I've got all these other libraries to install, and that's fine. It'll just do it.
Okay, now I checked it. How do I install it?
I think it's been a long time since I've done it. I think it's in a drop-down menu.
Okay. Mark for installation. I'm not seeing where I actually.
If it's marked for installation, I think then you just hit something called apply.
Oh, there's apply.
Big button.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it wasn't shiny, and it wasn't.
Yeah. See, Windows has things all shiny. Linux doesn't.
Usually, when I check a box, there's a button that will say next or OK or start or install. Apply is more like I've changed a setting, not I'm installing software.
Here's the idea, is that you're going through this list and you're checking off a number of things. And you go, see, I'm going to install all of this good stuff. Then you hit apply because you've got all these settings marked. And then it's going to happen.
All right, so here I have Nestopia.
It's just a different way of looking at things.
But I don't have any ROMs on here, and I don't know how to copy files over from my physical Windows 10 machine to my virtual Linux machine.
Well, you can copy to a memory stick and then plug in the memory stick and then suck it off of there. You've got a file manager there.
Okay. We do have 8 minutes to kill here. So I suppose we should get some, unless Venison's got something better to discuss.
Is this installation done? You just had a little pop-up. I didn't see what it said.
Oh, well, that was me adding a jump drive into my computer. So let's take a look here. This is my iDrive, which has my average white band 8-track quad conversion ISO image on here because I was playing it on my Oppo DVD player. All right, so now we'll go ahead and go into here, and we'll go into games, NES ROMs, and we'll go ahead and grab the 2-in-1 Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, and we'll throw this over into here. And there we go. So
you've pulled in ROMs onto your Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, using USB because it automatically does it. All right, so now we need to mount the USB key to this machine. Let's see, USB. What is this? This is. No, we don't want the Logitech. Is this a Kingston? What is this? This is a my. I think this is a Kingston. Yeah, it's Kingston. All right, so now in our virtual machine, we right-click on the USB here, and we go ahead and bring in the Kingston Data Traveler 3.0. So now, Linux, being an awesome operating system, will automatically detect it and map it for me, right?
Maybe.
Well,
try it and see.
It's thinking really hard about it, and I just lost the window that popped up and said, "Hey, we're going to totally do that awesome thing for you." All right, let's see here. Let's open up a file manager. And where would it be? It doesn't just show up here. It shows up under...
Is there a folder called Mount or MNT or something like that?
Let's see. Well, I'm in my home folder right now. Would it be under public? No.
I was thinking that was off of root.
All right, root. Yeah, because we need to do a man mount, don't we?
Wait, a what?
Yeah, in Linux you gotta do man mounting if you want to get your USB key.
A man mount?
Yeah, you've never done a man mount?
No.
Well, actually, man.
I don't do
man
that.
is just the command for give me a manual. So it'll essentially list like a very crude Kindle.
I'm not seeing this, so where would you go at this point, Brian? Because you know how to do this. So if you were driving, you would be here now, right?
Right. That means I have to turn on my Linux machine.
Ah, damn pipe clogged up. Ooh.
Oh, here we go. Removable devices. 7.2 gig removable media. I double click on it and nothing happens. Oh, there it is. There it is. So now I got a 2-in-1 Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt. So, oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I don't know what it's doing. Oh, it's opening that. Okay. So I want to do a copy is what I want to do. And I'm going to go over here to my home. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that right into my documents because that's easy. So now we come here to Nestopia. And we go into File, Open. And we go into my documents. And there's 2-in-1 Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt. And we click Open. And I have slow emulation.
Duck Hunt.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we have, I mean, we're emulating a Nintendo and a virtual Linux machine running on a physical Windows 10 machine. So that's 3 machines in one. So yeah, this is not ideal, but this will work better on the laptop.
It's confused.
We could probably set some configurations a little bit better here. You know, we could set let's. I don't see any setting that will fix this really. Actually, I thought there might be some type of a frame skip setting or something like that, maybe.
Remember, with Linux, everything is manual.
Well, this emulator didn't work on my laptop. I couldn't get video. So I found another emulator called FCEUX or something like that. And I'm like, well, screw you. I'll use the thing that works right out of the back box. But it's interesting. I get video on the virtual machine. All right. Well, on that note, I believe it is time once again to put another show to bed here.
What the fuck is with this now? Oh, okay. Skype is being a real pain in the ass.
Well, that's what they do. They're professional pain in the ass.
Yeah, but not like this.
Well,
you know, before when I tried to bring it up, you know, when the NXP is saying, they're saying that needs a security code or something, but he can't send it to my mailbox because he used old addresses. Oh, okay, fine. That's when I got mad and tried Windows 7. So, okay, get on the Windows 7. Browser doesn't work, and the Skype did the same thing. Yeah. Then it says, what? I was able to get the next screen. They said, okay, fine.
Okay. Well, we do need to put the show to bed. Ellipsis Triangle Trap wrote back when we were playing with music stuff. If there's a patch called Init, that one will be a good starter patch for making new sounds with. Oh, I guess when I was trying to find a default starting point for the mini Moog. Jose Guzman wrote in Ubuntu. Sounds like a Malay word. Ellipsis Triangle Trap writes in, there's no such thing as buying Linux software. It's all free and open source. That's the whole point of Linux.
Actually, there are a lot of what they call non-free libraries.
But I guess that's more the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah. What sucks is that I'm going to install Linux on this machine, and your Wi-Fi driver or your mouse driver or your whatever, because you're using something a little bit different.
Yeah.
You have to download the non-free driver for that.
Oh.
What the crap? But then you can add the non-free repository or link that crap into your repository. It's like, what? It's bizarre.
Well, yeah, because I noticed that the driver that comes with my laptop for the touchpad, now, I don't like that my touchpad does the scrolling by dragging your finger along the right or bottom sides of the touchpad, because I like the Lenovo style of doing a two-finger swipe to do scrolling. But the other thing is that typically a touchpad will let you left-click by tapping the touchpad rather than clicking the button, so that way you could kind of have your finger moving it around and just do a tap rather than move down and click a button. And Kubuntu is not detecting my taps directly on the touchpad. I have to actually use the physical buttons. Minor inconvenience. Hashtag first world problem.
Yeah, but I'm fine. Let's talk about that, but even talk about my Skype problem. I'm trying to find out if anybody else has this problem. Because if it came up on the 7 machine, it'll come up on others.
Well, I think more the question is, does anyone ever not have a Skype problem?
The first one I had one like this.
Well, I mean, we've been having lots of Skype for business problems, so that's a whole different can of worms that I need to spray a bunch of bullshit repellent on.
Yeah, I never had a problem with Skype before.
Well, I think you're the only one. But on that note, we do need to put this show to bed. And we do try to be educational here. And I think we've all learned a lot this week. So let's go ahead and go around the room. And Brian, what have you learned this week?
Well, now you have 2 cats in your room.
Yeah, and they don't always get along that great, but that's okay.
I think the white one is trying to figure out what the other one's doing.
Well, the white one likes to stalk and attack the black one, and the black one likes to be left alone.
We could have some good time here.
Yeah, well, the black
But
one's
the thing that I learned is that it appears that Jonathan Gators, or Johnny Gators, can become an elitist prick like other Linux guys. I'm proud of him.
No. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be an elitist nice guy.
Aha! That will be something new.
If I'm gonna tell someone to read the fucking manual, I'm not gonna use an acronym to do that. But but Venison, what have you learned this week?
Well, mostly not much because, well, I couldn't get on. But I have made me realize, why is the music getting loud?
I think that was Skype.
Okay, weird. Like I was saying, I think I've learned that you're not going to be a elitist prick, because at one point or sometime, because we all know your rants. Sometimes you will run into compiling problems or something like that, or mounting problems, and you're going to scream your head off and probably delete the whole thing.
Oh, no. I have 2 hard drives. One's got Windows on it, one has Linux on it, so I can swap back.
Hey, here's the next trick.
Yeah?
Use gparted to make 2 partitions. One you install Windows on, the other one you install Linux.
Yeah, but
and
it's
set up dual boot.
It's only a 250 gig drive, though.
Yeah, well, how much do you need for Windows?
Putting 2 operating systems, each in only like about 120 gig environment, is running things a little tight.
Yeah, nowadays, unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's so much bloatware out there.
Maybe the Linux would be all right, but, you know, I mean, basically, I have 2 250 solid state drives, so I just put Windows on one, put Linux on the other. So if I need to switch back, I'll switch back.
I mean, you have to reboot between on a dual boot machine anyway, so.
Yeah. So
yeah, what's the difference?
It's just 3 screws to change the hard drive. And I've learned this week that maybe Linux isn't so bad if I don't have to use it all the time. I've learned that there are certain topics that are more interesting than my house, and there are certain topics that are less interesting than my house. And I've also learned that the show isn't as bad as I thought it was. And on that note, I'd like to thank everyone out there for listening. And once again, a special thank you to friend of the show, Ian Lee, for inspiring me to enjoy what I'm doing here while I'm doing it. And I'm looking forward to giving him a call this week, if I make it that far into the week.
Yeah.
So much
I
bullshit.
can't find out how to do calling out of country on this stupid phone. It won't let me. Sucks.
Anyways, that does suck. And but we're gonna go ahead and put this to bed. And
I can't call Liam.
Be sure to check out other programming we have all week long on the network here. Tomorrow night, Video Vamp will be doing a little thing called ADHD Radio. And on Friday night, there are those other guys that do that other show. And on Sundays, we have the Dude and Bob show. So NHCRadio.com redirects you to our Facebook page, because Rico took down our website. But that's okay, because Facebook is all we
do. This is Monday. Yeah. Oh, shit, I got a show to do tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we might... What do you think about doing, like, occasional Friday music shows?
Well, when you get down to it, it's kind of turned into, you know, a semi-music show. Because it is kind of boring out here. I've got nothing to talk about.
Oh, great. Well, you know what? We'll see if we can make a kind of a Friday music show out of things, and we'll call it Suburban Homeboys again. And Brian, you can come too.
Yeah, Friday nights, well, that'll be good after 10 p.m.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Well, I don't know if I want to do that. We'll talk more off air. But anyways, thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.
And we will be back next week. Same time, same place. We're all here next week?
I think so.
I hope so.
All right.
If Skype doesn't screw up on me again.
Very good. Everyone have a great evening and good night.
I was asking about Firefox. Everything's falling apart here.